So I think no matter what class we did, no matter what the topics are, I keep on getting turned back to one point, and it's outside of class. And I guess my main point for this speech is how I felt the empowerment, or I felt empowered as a young woman at CME. And I'll say that again because that's basically my whole speech is about the empowerment I felt as a young woman. And I'll give a few examples on how that happened. So first one I want to mention is Professor Helene Landemore from Yale. She talks about open democracy. And it's not really anything that she talked about academically or even intellectually, but it's about her story, or how, for example, she participated in the Citizens' Assembly in France when that was kind of like tested or trialed as a form of governance. And just the way that she stood up for herself, or even for the country's good, I found that very powerful. And she also talked about how childbirth made her complete, or made her full. She almost talked about womanhood as a power rather than a burden in any sense. And I really think that it's just like, it gives her more power as a woman. And in this global stage, when she's basically the most expert, or I guess has the most expertise in her field about her own theories, as a woman, she never felt like womanhood would burden her in any sense. So that's about Helene. The next one I want to talk about is about Alicia, who was the founder of Make.org. And I think it's just, first of all, she's a woman who built a tech platform. That itself defies the stereotype, and I found that super powerful. And I think it's like, she probably has to fend off a lot of critics in her work. Maybe, yeah, like even in our discussion, she had to fend off opinions that are different from hers. So I think it surely happens in her everyday life. And she defied the stereotype, and also she shifted from the entertainment industry to the industry of, I guess, democracy and society, which in and of itself takes courage and takes passion and takes a lot of work, yes, to step out of her comfort zone and do something completely different that she's passionate about, which also serves the people. And I think that is also powerful. She dedicates her time and effort into something that's for the greater good and not just herself, while being a woman who is in charge of something that's, you know, like traditionally associated with men. I think I'm just gonna put it out there that anything tech related is always traditionally associated with men. And even in society today, I still think it takes a lot of courage for her as a woman to be doing all of this on her own. So that's about Alicia. The last one I want to talk about is Monica, like National Security Advisor of Kenya, yes. So she talked about how her peers, or the people she worked with, are predominantly men. And I actually did a little Google Wikipedia search. All of her predecessors and the people who succeeded her in her previous positions were all men. And that takes courage. She talked about finding a support system and the vulnerability of reaching out. And I think that's super important because she's willing to accept that being a woman has burdens. Well, I guess it kind of differs from the two other examples, but it's not wrong because it's true that being a woman is difficult in this world, and being at her position, she needs to find a support system. And I just love how she was really vulnerable about that. And she said a word, or a sentence, saying that the world belongs to all of us. And it does belong to all of us, including all the women in this world as well. These are the three examples that I want to give. And also just in general, the way they carry themselves in and of itself brings power. The way that they walk down into this room, they sit down, they have a pleasant expression on their face, introduce themselves confidently. And I think for me, how this affects me is I'm kind of in the stage of transition between girlhood and womanhood. I actually just turned 18 and I finished high school, which I guess in a traditional sense is when womanhood or adulthood begins. And I'm just gonna be honest, it's not easy to navigate girlhood or womanhood. It's difficult at school, even at home. I think this is something that we should bring to our attention. It's not easy to navigate girlhood, and it's really important to feel supported. And I think I felt supported here, just from the way that they present themselves, the way they carry themselves. And I love how CME includes a variety of women from different backgrounds who are all very open to sharing their stories. And it really allowed me to get a sense of what womanhood is like and how women at these high stages, what their life is like and the difficulties they have to deal with. And they all have the same quality of chasing what they want in life. They never had anything stop them. Whether they see womanhood as a gift or as a burden, at least they never had womanhood stop them, right, from achieving what they want. And they just made it happen. They executed whatever they want. And that's what I really want in my life as well. Maybe I'll pursue polarly different fields from all of the people I mentioned, but I want to have that same drive of pursuing and just getting, there's this saying, I want it, I got it. That's them. it's really wonderful. So now going back to some of my core values that I talked about on our first day, my 5 are love, happiness, growth, health, and community. And in terms of especially love and community, I really see the power of womanhood and how that can be a sense of support rather than a sense of burden, and how with a community of women, it really, like, we can go far and we can imagine the unimaginable. So I found that really powerful, and what's really gives me hope about my future is that they think that I can do it too. And to all the women that I talked about, and even the men as well, because they never doubted me because I am a girl or I am a woman, and I just find that very powerful. I know I've said this 100 times already, but that's just my central message. And they think my voice matters too. So this is my biggest takeaway from this week of CB. That's all I had.